What's up, 49er faithful? I'm Jason Aponte. This is the call-in show for the Spicy Squad. Ask me anything, fantasy football, Niners, whatever it is that you guys want to talk about. Powered by Underdog Fantasy. Promo code Aponte. Make sure you double your deposits when you are a first-time user. We're going to talk Niners. We're going to talk Trey Lance. We're going to talk Jimmy Garoppolo. Talk it all. Let's just have some fun coming right at you. Welcome, everybody. Let's go Niners. My name is Jason Aponte. What's up, everyone? Make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell for when we go live. A lot of content tomorrow, State of the Franchise. You know what's going on. We're getting ready for Denver. A lot going on in 49ers land. Shout out to everybody who's tapped in, and make sure that everybody, is a channel member. If you guys want the link, I dropped it in the community. We already have our first caller, but real quick, just wanted to say it's been a tense time, to say the least, on Twitter, on YouTube, in the comments, everything. I think it is what it is. I think that rehashing these arguments about Jimmy Garoppolo feel pointless because he is the quarterback, and God save us for that, because thank God it's not Brock Purdy or who's the guy that Peter Bunkert is who they just signed. So it could be much worse. We all feel for the kid. But at the same time, it is what it is. I'm going to bring on our first caller. Let me make sure I got my images right. Tony,
how's it going, Jay?
Tony, is that you, man?
It's me. Yeah, aloha. Good to see you, sir.
How are you? Did I get it wrong? It's aloha and then mahalo?
Yeah. Aloha means hello, goodbye, and I love you, and mahalo means thank you.
Well, mahalo for joining. So I got that part right. So what's going on? What's on your mind, Tony?
Oh gosh, what is on my mind? I did not actually get a chance to watch the game live this week. I watched it last night on the cut up version on my NFL ticket app, so no commercials and everything. And I was following along on Twitter. I was out getting some work done on Sunday, so I was aware of what happened, obviously, on Sunday with Trey and with the win and all that. So I kind of watched it with an interesting set of eyes. And, my big takeaway, and Niners won by a lot, but I also felt the Seahawks had a very similar performance this week that the Niners had in Chicago the previous week.
Sure
a lot
did.
of penalties, special teams turnovers, although they blocked one field goal and they almost blocked two. And the other thing that I was struck by was how much better the offense was, at least in terms of game flow in those first two series when Trey was there. And I think a lot of that, Debo made a great play in that 50-yard run. Don't get me wrong. But, a lot of Jeff Wilson Jr.'s earlier runs, I think the presence of having Trey on the field just stretched out that defense and opened up places for Jeff Wilson Jr. to run. And it's such a darn shame we're losing Trey Lance, because we're losing that X factor now that defenses are going to have to account for to go back to what the offense was last season without the same center that we had last season. So I'm just totally concerned. And
right.
I don't know. I have a lot to say, but what do you think about all that so far?
No, we're good. And I see a lot of people asking for the link. Guys, if you check the description on the video, that's how you join the channel. Once you join the channel, it'll be in the community tab is where I posted the link. It's for channel members, just so I can vet out people who are going to try to destroy my channel by saying something crazy on it or anything like that. It's for the longtime people, the Spicy Squad. So yeah, if you join the channel, it'll pop up here, says new member, and then you go and you check the community room, the community tab on my channel. It'll actually be right there for you because I posted it earlier. Tony, I think, this is a very bittersweet win, right? And there's nothing wrong with saying that. And you're just right now, what I would not push back a little bit on, but what I'll say is this. Everybody's talking about, the offense, we wanted all of these things. And this is kind of the dichotomy right now with what's going on with, fans wanting a running quarterback, and I can't wait to see what Kyle's going to cook up with his own read. Oh, well, Kyle got him hurt. This is the part that kind of just doesn't jive with me a little bit, because what did you expect? And I understand. You guys are talking about frequency of runs. Cool. That's been the argument more than anything, right? But at least because we know with Jimmy Garoppolo what to expect, I think that makes me feel a little bit better, Tony, in my opinion. It gives me that, my daughter's a big Snoopy fan, like Linus. It's my security blanket. I know what this offense is going to look like now. Now, if it's Brock Purdy, if it's Nate Sudfeld, who would have still been here, then you start to think, I don't know what this is going to be. At least there'll be some sort of semblance of what this offense can be. Still was a top 5 offense some years that Jimmy Garoppolo was here. It can be that. And I think that's the part that people should be at least grasping to. I understand. Nobody wanted to see this happen. None of us wanted to see that, right? We all wanted Trey to play. And I don't disagree necessarily with the sentiment that the 49ers are more equipped for a deep run with Jimmy Garoppolo. I don't necessarily disagree with that. I don't. But what I don't like is people forgetting why we wanted Trey to start. It wasn't because we are trying to get to a Super Bowl in the first year with Trey. It's because this year of reps were valuable and you wanted that, right? And we were ready to go through the bumps and bruises. Now the season has completely shifted from, well, let's see where we go with this roster to now it's go time, right? I mean, it is go time right now at this point, right? Because everybody was not everybody. People were worried about wasting a Super Bowl roster, right? Well, now you don't have that worry. And you know what? I am going to give Jimmy Garoppolo the benefit of the doubt because I've been thinking about this a long time, right? And I do this for a living and this is all I do is talk. But now he doesn't have a guy behind him that people are going to be clamoring for them to play, right? Maybe Jimmy cuts it loose a little bit more. Maybe he is that guy. I don't want to rehash the same issues with Jimmy Garoppolo because he is who he is at this point. There's not going to be a necessary change or there's not going to be anything that's different. But at this point, I feel kind of safe right now. Again, like I said this last night on Sprint Right Option, when you get flood insurance, it's not because you're expecting a flood. When you get car insurance, it's not because you're expecting your car to crash. It's because if it does happen, you're in safe hands. And that's the $6 million insurance policy. And you know what? Unfortunately, the 49ers had to cash that in. But there are worse spots that this team could be in, is my opinion.
Oh, I totally agree with you. I was actually... I don't know. When Jimmy re-signed, I thought it was a good thing for the team overall. I know all the noise coming out from outside was how much they couldn't coexist and all that sort of stuff. I thought it was good to have Jimmy as the backup for precisely this scenario. And I just didn't want to see the scenario happen, this early on in the season and with such a severe injury. Right. Or at all. I'm going to disagree with you, though. We know what to expect from the Jimmy G offense, and so do all the defensive coordinators in the league. It's going to be a serviceable, traditional pocket passing, Kyle Shanahan, zone, outside zone run offense. But everybody who knows anything, all the defensive coordinators in the league also know exactly what they're going to get.
Very good point from Ben.
What we got there? $18 million insurance policy. That inflated because he's going to hit all those incentives.
Well, inflation's real. Thanks a lot, Biden. I'm just kidding.
No, seriously though, the thing with Trey was the offense was more unpredictable and could do different sorts of things. And honestly, stretch that field, which we're beating the dead horse. We all know we all wanted to see Trey because of those intangibles. I think the offense actually, it was going to be more inconsistent with Trey while he was taking his lumps, but it was going to be more dynamic at times because of those X factors that Jimmy Garoppolo doesn't bring to the table. And that's the biggest shame.
And I will not disagree with that at all. And I think that's what 49er fans, the people that wanted Lance to play, is we know what Jimmy Garoppolo is. Let's see some unknown. And again, it's gonna be bumpy. It's gonna be throws that you would have said, hey, Jimmy would have hit that, but then there's gonna be throws that Trey would hit, and you would say Jimmy's not gonna hit that, or Jimmy's not gonna make that play. And that's really where the root of this comes in. But again, you know what? This team, when we talk about Super Bowl roster, when you look around at the NFC right now, look around. The Philadelphia Eagles, after 2 games, they're world beaters, right? After that, who is it? I mean, the Rams barely beat the Falcons. They got publicly destroyed on national television. Seattle's gone. Jordan Elliott just posted a clip, I believe, where they ran one offensive play where they had 10 players on the field. They had their running back. They had all 4 running backs on the field when DJ Dallas threw that interception to Mooney Ward, and Geno Smith was out wide. That team is gone. They're done. It's over. Arizona was this close to being 0-2. Thank you, Raiders, for being terrible. They're in it back. But the NFC is wide open at this point. So this is me being on the bright side. This is me not yelling. This is me trying to look at everything at least down the middle. What's up to Don Bird, man? Don Bird, Detroit versus everybody. See, all week, during Chicago week, Don, we were terrorized by a public menace on these shows, and they were nothing like you. Nothing like you. You're a part of the family now, right? Like, you're a part of the family. Like, Don, you're not on Twitter, but everybody on Hard Knocks, man, I'm rooting for the Lions. Nah, we've been 10 toes down with the Lions because of you. Like this. I was just like, man, I don't care about Hard Knocks. We already knew what it was with the Lions, but it's good to see you, buddy. Tony, I hear you, man. And there's only a few ways that you can walk away from this feeling good because of what the season was supposed to be, but the expectations exponentially change. And I saw someone in the comments say this, and I won't necessarily disagree. This team could have had the similar trajectory with Trey Lance, for sure. Especially if you see the incremental steps, right? It's our frustration comes from, we got another guest. I'm gonna have to take over this overlay real quick. I knew we were getting a guest, but I'm gonna take this overlay away real quick. And
feels great, baby.
Here he is.
Oh, you got a real guest. You got someone who's smart. Okay, cool.
No. I'm not gonna say that. But we there is a world where this team could have competed, down the line with a Trey Lance that has fully grown, fully matured, right? The problem is we're robbed of another year of it, and now it pushes the discussion that we have already had to go through all offseason to the next season. Literally the same exact questions, the same exact discourse is what's going to happen. Javi, what are your thoughts on that?
I agree. I mean, I shouldn't say we. Trey Lance lost a valuable year of learning. He lost a valuable year of reps. He lost a valuable year of experience. He lost a valuable year of situational football. All that's been taken away from him. And with Trey Lance, most of his career, things have been taken away from him, right? COVID year took away his, sophomore or junior year, whatever it was in college. Then he cuts in the NFL, right? You were at camp his rookie year. He had some really highs. He had some lows, right? And then he's not ready. And all this scrutiny is thrown at him. And he gets 2 games or 10 quarters, whatever it was. That's not enough to make a true judgment on this player. And then he comes in week 1. We all know the monsoon and everything else, but there's going to be some pushback on, Justin Fields got it done, right? Wherever you land on that argument, yes, the other quarterback made plays and the other one did not. And that's going to be against him. He comes into week 2, he gets what? Fucking 10, excuse my language, sorry, 12 snaps total?
We get a few of those on this monetized channel, so
right.
Let it fly.
He gets 10 or 12 snaps and then it's over. There's no real way to know exactly what he is, but this is something that I said with Rob on Sunday, and this is something I've been thinking about since Sunday is, it's going to come off wrong because people don't want to hear it. But it's the same discussion that I had about Jimmy Garoppolo in 2019. Does Kyle Shanahan trust his quarterback yet to operate his offense in the way he so chooses? If we can do that for Jimmy Garoppolo, why can't we do it for Trey Lance? Right? So you have to be able to separate your emotional side of this. So when it comes to Trey, does Kyle fully trust him with the breast of the offense completely? I don't think so. And I think that's fair to say. But it's also not his fault. The kid had 317 pass attempts in college, and then he had 71 in the NFL before the beginning of the season. So, of course, Kyle, you're not going to feel all warm and fuzzy turning over your Super Bowl ready roster to a rookie or to a young quarterback in this situation, which is, I gave Vish a lot of, I shouldn't say I gave him a lot, but Vish was very much ahead of this. The timeline to add a young quarterback on this roster was wrong. And this is another thing. People aren't going to like what I have to say because I'm kind of flipping my opinion, but when you are presented with new information, I should be allowed to do so. Coming into the 2021 season, I said Trey Lance was going into the best possible situation out of any rookie quarterback. Now, I feel that he is not going into the best situation out of any of those quarterbacks. Why? Because there is no major repercussions for Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, Zach Wilson, and Mac Jones. Well, maybe Mac Jones, but those three have no real pressure around them because their fucking rosters stink. Trey Lance is,
they're not the 49ers.
Yes, and they're not the 49ers. And with Trey Lance, he is coming into a Super Bowl ready roster, ready to win right now. Right? And Kyle Shanahan is not going to risk losing over development, no matter the cost. He's just not going to. This man needs to win. He's below 500. He's 40-43. That's the record. Right? So in turn, then you have a roster who I don't believe fully embraced this kid. Why? Because he was given the roster, because he didn't necessarily earn it. Jimmy Garoppolo got fired from his position, and Kyle said, hey, it's your show, Trey. With guys on this roster who've only won with Jimmy Garoppolo. So that's not going to sit well with players like, and I don't know if it does. I don't know if it does or does not. This is me making an assumption. This is me reading body language and looking at the tea leaves and everything that's come out about Trey Lance and the 49ers since May. The arm fatigue thing. The he's not ready. There's concerns with his development. Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. These rumors seem to start adding up and be true. And then you add in the fact that Jimmy Garoppolo is back on this roster at a much lower cost. Did Kyle fully believe in this kid going into this season? Did Kyle Kyle admitted going to Jimmy and saying, hey, if you can't find another place to go, we'd like to have you back here. Is that really what Kyle did, though?
Yeah.
Or did Kyle see Trey in practice and say, damn, he's not where I want him to be, but just in case of emergency, pull string Jimmy Garoppolo.
Right.
Now the emergency happened, but the emergency that he was, no one's hoping for an injury. This was not the emergency.
Right.
Right. So now you're in a situation now, Kyle, you're kind of you backed yourself in a corner here because now you lost valuable snaps for your quarterback that you handpicked, that we all assumed you handpicked. And now you have a roster that needs to go win. But this is the same question you're going to apply next year, whether Jimmy's here or not. You have a ready to win roster right now because that roster is not going to get worse next year, is it? No, it shouldn't.
Nope.
You drafted well with Drake Jackson. Aaron Banks had a nice game yesterday, but you have an aging roster. Kittle, Trent, Fred, Jimmy Ward, who may or may not be back, right? Like your key players in this roster are only getting older, and they're going to want to continue to win, whether you win a Super Bowl this year or not. So,
yeah. So let me ask you something, Javi.
Well, let me take this real quick from Keith, and then I got you, Tony. Make sure you hold on to that thought. So Keith, thank you for the donation. Appreciate you, bro. I watched Jalen Hurts run 17 times last night. I feel Kyle was trying something similar. Why is he taking such a beating by everybody? I think it's pretty simple, Keith. And I know nobody wants to hear this. Jalen Hurts is a better runner of the football, and he just knows when to get down, and there's nothing wrong with that. I really don't think that there's anything wrong with that. I do think that Kyle envisions that, but I do think that you are discrediting how good Jalen Hurts is as a runner. I mean, and he's developed as a passer now, but look at how he developed. What happened? He played a bunch of games. Like they booted Carson Wentz for him and they let him play. But again, the situations aren't apples to apples because the Eagles were rebuilding and the 49ers have this roster. So I think that's where it's at. Like, I don't disagree with the sentiment, but I think Jalen Hurts is far better as a runner right now, knows when to get down, knows when to get away, doesn't take any shots, anything like that. I think the Trey is going to find his way through that, and that will only happen with reps. But yeah, go for it, Tony. I mean,
go ahead. Go ahead, Tony.
Well, this is a question actually for both of you, but so Eric Branch today reported that he talked to a surgeon in the Los Angeles area and that it's possible for someone to return from an injury that, like the one that Trey sustained within this season, towards the end of the season.
10 to 12.
Are you saying then that the Niners shouldn't play Trey even if he's healthy enough to play at the end of the season?
I'm not saying that, but wouldn't it be perfectly 49ers for that to happen? The 49ers are moving and they're winning a bunch of games, and then Trey is back, and now we have to discuss this all over again. Like I really look at that as a realistic outcome in this range of possibilities. Like I looked at that, I read that article, and I said, you know what? All the things that we said were almost impossible, right? Jimmy can't come back. This can't happen. This can't. Literally all happened. So we all assume that Trey Lance is done for the year. But wouldn't it be just like this team to have Trey available towards the end of the season while the 49ers have won games to kick all this right back off? Javi, what do you think about that?
I mean, it would only be 49er like for that to happen. Yep. It's the only thing that can happen. Do you play the question? Do you play Trey? It depends on how it looks. If let's say hypothetically, the Niners are 10-2. No, the answer is no. You don't go back to Trey. You don't. I'm sorry. If the Niners are 5-7, well, yeah, then you go back to Trey.
Oh yeah.
It depends on where they are. It depends on where they are in the season. And it also depends on how it looks. If that 10-2 is literally Jimmy doing what he's always done, which I fully expect that he will continue to do what he's always done, then yeah, maybe you have the conversation. But it's not going to look good in your locker room to be like, yo, keys back to the kid. Right? And it's frustrating. It's just a really weird. Kyle Shanahan has a problem on his hands, but it's also a problem that he created himself by allowing this to continue on. You could have just released this guy.
Alpha. Nobody's arguing about what they gave up for whatever. I'm just saying the fact that Jalen Hurts is a better runner. It doesn't matter what they gave up. Like I don't know why you're.
And that's another thing.
Are you yelling at somebody in the chat or like I don't know.
I wanted to address that. Alpha 45. Okay, Trey Lance himself verbally stated this, that he is not bigger, faster, or stronger than anyone else in the NFL. So the stuff he was running in North Dakota State isn't going to work as well in the NFL because he understands his physical limitations as a runner. He stated this last week before the Seahawks game. So yes, his ability to run up the middle is his strength. He is not going to get around a defensive end like a Lamar Jackson, like a Justin Fields, like a Josh Allen, like a Jalen Hurts. He's not that fast to get out there. And Trey Lance, whoever wants to hear it, he does, in my opinion, does not look comfortable running the football. He does not. There's no, to me, he lacks confidence in his running ability. And that's the biggest thing. We saw it last year.
Javi, one more thing, man. Oh my God. Oh, Josh Allen does this. Lamar Jackson does this. Have you guys ever considered that Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson are just,
unicorns?
As the kids say, different? Yeah. Like what? Like, why are we all of a sudden attributing this kid to those kids? And I know why. Because of the high draft capital. I know why. But at the same time, can't you acknowledge the fact that Josh Allen is just something that's completely different, that Lamar Jackson is something that this league has still never seen and probably won't see because he's just electric? Why does it have to be comparing him to a unanimous MVP and a guy who is running away with the MVP right now after 2 weeks? So that's my thing, is the expectations feel different, right? Because you're just looking at running quarterbacks. But stop saying Josh Allen, stop saying Lamar Jackson, please.
But part of it is the problem with that, though, is when you have guys like Daniel Jeremiah and Bucky Brooks and these guys, that's what they kept saying, is Josh Allen-esque. Like, okay, enough with listening to these media pundits. Open your eyes and do your own evaluation. Who was the guy that I said he looked like a while ago, Jason?
Donovan McNabb?
McNair. Yeah. Those are the two that he looks like. He's not Josh Allen. And young McNabb. Anyone remember young McNabb and young McNair? Both those guys were 50% passers. You know, it was real clunky in the run game initially. They had accuracy issues early, but it developed over time, right? The upside though was McNabb had Andy Reid, and Andy Reid is. I'm sorry, Kyle, you're not a quarterback developer because you haven't done it yet. Andy Reid has done that, right? And then with Steve McNair, Steve McNair's career, it slowly got better. He was in the MVP considerations for quite a while. It got better. You have to let a guy like that progress and develop. And I think part of the issue with Trey Lance's development, which I think we kind of saw, is yes, you want to run him a lot because that's what Kyle feels he's best at right now, right? Kyle is not going to risk losses for development. He's just not. And if he feels it's the best way for him to win, that's what he's going to do. Now, do I agree with Kyle running Trey Lance that much this early on in his career? No, I don't. But if that means it's going to be successful, then so be it. At the end of the day, nothing that we say fucking matters anyways. So people get mad at our opinion, doesn't really matter. Just open your eyes and watch the tape. Look what's going on. Don't get so discouraged and pissed off at Mike Silver and Colin. Whatever about Colin Cowherd, but
no. You know what I said about him? Yeah.
Colin Cowherd can see it on site, right? But it's just like, you have to take everything with a grain of salt, and you have to not disregard these reports because they don't align with your emotional feelings about the team. Think about it. Back in 2019. I said it I was one of the first guys to say it on Twitter. Damn, when Colin Kaepernick had his little tryout, I said Kaepernick's hitting deep balls that Jimmy Garoppolo couldn't hit. Man, my mentions were destroyed, bro. Destroyed when I said that. And guess what cost the Super Bowl? He couldn't hit a deep ball. And that was the issue from 2019 to 2020 to 2021. Right? When you see things early on, say it.
Let me get to these donations. Paul Madison, thank you, man. Appreciate you, bro. This could easily be Montana Young 1988 again. The only difference is Joe won the Bowls and Jimmy gets to them. Keith, thank you again for the donations. Jimmy will play the next 12 weeks, then Trey will relieve him when he gets injured. You guys are onto something. I mean, it would only be right.
Oh my God. Could you remember? Could you imagine?
We should label 49ers, the 49ers team, Murphy's Law. Anything that can go wrong will go wrong, man, at this point. And I wouldn't be shocked. But it is what it is, like, at this point. And I just back to, like, the initial point, like, that when we were just talking, rehashing what Jimmy Garoppolo is at this point, I feel like it's counterproductive. And I think that we know what he is, and that's it. And I don't think that anything's going to change that. Like, Trey Lance has a chance to develop and grow. Jimmy Garoppolo is who he is. So, in Hollywood, you get an audition, either you get the part or you don't. Not many times do you get a second audition. And that's what this feels like for Jimmy Garoppolo. It feels like a second audition for other teams. And he's going to get a chance to do this. And, like, the one thing that I keep telling people about Jimmy Garoppolo is that not that people think that Jimmy Garoppolo is a bad quarterback, because I've said very many times that he's a starter in this league. But how many people have a Kyle Shanahan in their building that can maximize his skill set and get those numbers for him? Not many do. So I think even the most, ardent front office guy is looking around like, hey, man, we should make a move for Jimmy Garoppolo. And then you think, well, who's his offensive coordinator? How are we going to make this happen? Is he going to look anything like he did? It's like, it goes hand in hand with the Kyle Shanahan thing. Kyle Shanahan deserves a lot of kudos for the way that people regard Jimmy Garoppolo. And it's fair to say that Jimmy Garoppolo might not see the heights that he ever saw as a starting quarterback, without Kyle Shanahan. And it's not Kyle Shanahan's growing on trees. Tony, what do you think about that?
Well, I think that I'm generally mad at Kyle Shanahan for a lot of different reasons. I think he's a brilliant tactician. I think he's a horrible strategist.
This is your floor, so go for it. Say whatever it is that you want to say, man. Go for it.
Well, so he's able to maximize Jimmy Garoppolo, but he's not really able to maximize Trey Lance. I think part of that was because it's like he's playing with his new toy, and he doesn't really know exactly the best way to play Trey Lance. But I also think that I'm a big believer in the idea that when Trey was first coming out, he should have called the game the same way that he was going to call it for Jimmy, because that's how the offense was built, to maximize that yak. If it's an area that Trey isn't good at, you have him do it in games, he'll get better at it over time, no matter what. And then, God forbid, something bad happens, you don't have to reinstall anything for Jimmy. You can just continue going with the way that you were, but just pepper in 2 extra deep balls every single game to take advantage of who Trey Lance is. And yes, maybe more bootlegs and whatnot to take advantage of his better mobility than the Jimmy Garoppolo. And I think I'm just mad at Kyle because he's had a season and a half to figure out how best to use Trey Lance, and he kind of went back to the way that he used him in Arizona last season without very much difference. We saw some growth between Arizona and Houston last season in between the starts. And of course, Trey got well. He wasn't as hurt as he was, all that sort of stuff. Okay. But then just to have him go again, throw out the Chicago game. That was a weather game. You can't take anything away from that. It was a weird situation. Mm-hmm. But then to come back in in Seattle and to kind of see similar things that he was doing back in Arizona, it's like doing the same thing over and over again. And I wanted to see more growth out of the way Kyle was going to call plays for Trey than what we got out of that last game. And then the worst case scenario happened and Trey suffered a bad injury. So
I agree. I just wanted to get to this donation real quick before I let Hobby cook. Juan, thank you for the donation. Appreciate you, bro. Kyle Shanahan, John Lynch, high drafts haven't worked. Now they broke Lance. Bosa's on this team because Carr's picked him correctly. Juan, I want to respectfully disagree with this just because you look around at how many starters they've been able to find. I mean, Samuel Womack's a starter now. Look, if Aaron Banks and Burford pan out, I mean, they got Fred late on. They got Kittle. I think you're thinking about early on. I think you're talking about high drafts. Okay, so that's exactly what you're saying. Okay,
Yeah,
all right. So yeah. All right, I immediately take that back. Brendan Ayuk's pretty good, but all right. So I will take back what I said.
It's 50-50.
I agree with you. It is 50-50 up there in the first round, but I do agree with you, at least early on. Nick Bosa did fall into our lap, but I will say this. I think the Arizona Cardinals are pretty okay having Kyler Murray there.
Yeah, I mean, you take the quarterback 10 times out of 10. Doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter.
Yeah, I think so too.
I think Tony said something really interesting about maximizing, Jimmy Garoppolo, and is he maximizing Jimmy Garoppolo's skill set, or is Kyle's scheme so good that it hides those skill sets, right? Like with I feel like the way I felt Jimmy Garoppolo was hidden with Kyle's system is the way I feel Kyle would hide Trey as well. Like he would be afraid to allow him to let loose, right? McDaniel said something really interesting last season when they talked about the development of Trey Lance. It was just like, yeah, sometimes we want to call the perfect play, but sometimes it's okay for that perfect play to be broken and still have the same result, right? And you're kind of seeing that with McDaniels now in Miami, allowing to me, it seems like Tua has a lot more ability to freelance if he needs to, right? Whereas Kyle is structure. Do not deviate from my plan because I call the perfect plays every time, right? And that was one of my biggest fears when it came to getting a guy like Trey Lance or Justin Fields or whomever it might be, right? Because Kyle is such a control freak about his offense. It's his baby. And I'm sure people are tired of hearing me say this, but it's stuck in my head because Mike Silver did a QB collective piece with all of Kyle, McVay, McDaniels, etc. Kyle was the only one to say the quarterback the system makes the quarterback, not the quarterback makes the system. And that's frustrating to me because Kyle, we've seen your system at its best when you have elite talent to make it happen. And when he had Matt Ryan, and Matt Ryan, you could have the debate, is he a top 10 guy for his time in the NFL? Maybe, maybe not. But he made that offense run much better than any other quarterback that Kyle's ever had, right? So that matters. And then, of course, adding a Julio Jones, right? So in San Francisco, you have Kittle, you have Ayuk, you have Debo. What's missing is a quarterback, but Jimmy's decent enough to make it somewhat work. But also, Kyle can be like, well, I take credit because Jimmy's not that good, so I've kind of made him this guy, right? Whereas if Trey Lance were to deviate from that and make monster plays and go from, do things off script, then does Kyle get all the credit? And I think there's an ego thing here too. I think there's a control freak thing here too with Kyle. And I'm not
RG3 said it.
Yeah, RG3 said it. I mean, he's a control freak. It is what it is. Like when it comes to Lance, that's what I was concerned with. Is like, are you going to let this kid grow and take his lumps, right? Even with your perfect play calls. Or are you going to let this kid cook just a little bit? And if you have to reel him back in, because Andy Reid did that with Mahomes. Structure. He's like, you said, you know what? Let's get away from the structure. Mm-hmm. Go do what you do. He did what he did. He got away from it for a little bit last year. Andy Reid said, hold on. Let's reel you back in. And then he let him cook again. Yeah. Like, that's what you have to do with guys like this. Yeah. Think about it. Andy Reid did it with McNabb, Vic, and now Mahomes.
Yep.
That's 3.
Right. So shout out to everybody that's in here. 33 minutes in. We've got almost 230 people in here. I mean, if you're part of the Spicy Squad, the link is in here. I'll drop the link in here. Here's what I'll do. I'll drop the link in here. Anybody else wants to hop in, I'll drop the link in here just so we have conversation. I want to give everybody a chance to say their piece. But make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell. Shout out to Tony, man, for rocking with us. Shout out to Hobby, man. It's like getting Jay-Z out of retirement, man. It's like getting It's like getting Brady back, man. Like that's the type of thing. Like he thought he could stay away, but I want to focus on. I think we've talked enough about the quarterback position. I think that we know what's going on. I think we've talked about that, but I want to talk about some of the positives. But before we get to that, I want to get to Ronnie's question. Jason / fellas, who takes the backup running back reps? Is it Jordan Mason or Marlon Mack? I'm going to say, and this is going to pain me to say this, it's going to be Marlon Mack because I really think that they love what Jordan Mason does on special teams. And I'm going to say this, Kyle, I disagree with you, buddy. Oh, my goodness, I disagree with you, man, because you're using him right now as a special teams guy, and he is a much better runner than he is anything on that. Like, he's going to do what he has to do to stay on the 53. That's why you kept him. But he's going to roll with Marlon Mack, I think, on Sunday night right behind Jeff Wilson Jr. Javi, or well, I'll start with Tony. Tony, do you disagree with that?
No, I don't disagree with that at all. When Marlon Mack made the practice squad, I actually went and picked him up on two of my fantasy teams that needed running backs. Just because Kyle, I think, always has a propensity to go with veterans over inexperienced players. And I think, Kyle understands how to coach wide receivers, and I think to some extent he understands how to coach running backs in a way he doesn't understand how to coach quarterbacks. And that I think with Mason, he's forcing Mason to earn his position. And that's kind of what this is all about. He's got to play special teams before Kyle's going to trust him with the ball in a game situation. Marlon Mack looked pretty good in that Houston game. And I think that is going to end up being Marlon Mack as the season goes on.
Thomas is nailing it, man. Tevin Coleman's coming back whether you want him or not. I promise you. They're definitely bringing him back on a workout. It's either him or Devontae Freeman, so you pick or choose. Like, one of those guys is going to be back now that TDP is going to be on IR for a little bit. Tony, I appreciate you for tapping in, man. We got somebody else that we're going to take, man. Thank you all the way.
Thank you.
Well,
Take care.
No. Mahalo all the way from Hawaii. I got it right, man. Thank you, bro. Appreciate you as always, man. Showing love. I appreciate you, man.
Take care, Jason.
All right. We got another caller. While we wait for Javi to get back, I'm going to bring him in. Rocky Mountain Razorback. What's up, buddy?
What's going on, my dude? Been watching you for a while. Time to talk to you like this, so that's what's up.
Appreciate you, man. I like that Nike sweater, man. It looks good, man. And yeah, I see the shit, man. What's going on? What's on your mind though right now?
So right quick, bro. I just got to say something real quick. So I know we've been saying we don't need to be comparing Lance to Josh Allen. We don't need to compare him to Lamar. We don't need to compare him to Mahomes. We don't need to compare him to Watson. I think that's soft, bro. Like, let's be real right now. We spent 3 firsts on this kid, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they didn't spend that much on Allen. How much they spent on Mahomes? How much they spent on Watson? How much they spent on Lamar? Lamar was at the back end of the first round.
Well, remember,
wasn't even going to get picked.
Remember this, though. Everybody wanted Lamar to change positions. Nobody wanted to put hands on Lamar or anything like that. Like, everyone was completely away. Like, Bill Polian, who has done more in this league than I'll ever be able to do if I live 2 lifetimes probably, was imploring this man to, switch to wide receiver. So he fell unnecessarily, right? Like, he fell into the Ravens' lap, essentially. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you're good, dude. But I'm just saying, though, like, I love the kid. I want the kid to be – I wanted him last year to start, bro. I don't want to be up here talking
about it.
But, like, at the end of the day, like, he's not getting it done right now. And he's hurt. He's just like Jimmy with the injuries. And that's why we're trying to move off of Jimmy, bro. Now, let's say we stood pat. We stood pat, and we did not trade up to 3 to go and get him. At 12, who was there? Was there any offensive lineman? Because we haven't pass pro'd one time, bro. We haven't been able to pass pro at all since
Micah Parsons.
Oh my God, dude! And could you imagine that? And then last year we'd have a first. We need offensive line.
Yeah.
Think about this real quick. Mm-hmm. Tom Brady, right, was the guy that mentored Jimmy Garoppolo, mm-hmm. right? He was under Belichick, right? Belichick had an offensive line that was kick ass with Brady every effing year, y'all. I'm trying not to cuss. Every year.
You're good.
You know what I mean? And so, like, if we put Jimmy behind the line like that, part of me is thinking, fuck, we might have won that Super Bowl. Passes got blocked down or whatever at the Super Bowl at the end of the game. So I know he didn't hit a long ball, but he also got shit knocked out of the air before he can even get it down the field.
We win that Super Bowl if Weston Richburg plays.
Yeah, and I think that's a lot of the stuff that I think people forget is like Ben Garland was, and I don't want to shit on Ben Garland. Like, that's the thing is I don't want to shit on him because I think he was extremely serviceable given the circumstances. Like, think about what Ben Garland had to do in New Orleans. Weston Richburg goes down and gets carted off. Okay, Ben Garland, you're in the middle of a shootout in New Orleans with a team that is probably like on your head for like a number 1 seed. He stepped in and he was fine. Unfortunately, I think that a lot of 49er fans struggle with this. Sometimes people just don't want to give other teams credit. Sometimes the other teams just like they did more than you. They were better than you that day. And I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. It doesn't always have to be your team blew it. And you can look at certain things and say, yeah, you know, in this aspect, they could have done this. They could have done this better. But sometimes that team's better than you on the other side that day, right? Like, and I just think that that's really like a hard thing for 49er fans to come up with. That's all.
And just real quick to add on that with the Super Bowl year, I had Joe Staley on my podcast, and you know, privately, and he's come out and said this, I think recently, you know, he had a neck issue that kept him awake for the entire week. Like he didn't sleep.
I remember
right?
that.
And he said he lost feeling his right side. They were testing him for stroke and all this other stuff. So the injuries are starting to pile up on this team getting into the Super Bowl, right? You lose Richburg. You have very much less than 100% Joe Staley, right? Laken Tomlinson, or I'm sorry, Mike Person was on the right guard. You know, he gets rolled up on quite a bit, and then he gets his hands put up in the air and the ball gets batted. Like there's a lot of things that went into that loss, right? The protection was the biggest one, and I'm not going to put it all on Jimmy. I remember I did put it all on Jimmy, but then you go back and watch the tape, then you have these conversations with Joe, and you have the conversation with Mike Persons, and you're like, damn, there was way more shit going on than Jimmy Garoppolo in that game.
And there's other things going on too, like Kendrick Bourne running the wrong route, like on certain plays. Like I look, I'm gonna stick to this. It took an entire team to blow that Super Bowl. It's not one person. I am not going to blame Jimmy Garoppolo for that. I know it's easy and it's lazy to just say, hey, Jimmy Garoppolo could have hit Sanders. Well, you know what? The defense was gassed. Now you give the ball back to a team that's rolling right now. But there was a route concept that literally Debo and Kendrick Bourne are running to the same spot, and Jimmy expects them to be in another spot, and he throws. That's on Jimmy? No. Like again, there's so much that goes into this, right? And another thing about the whole Super Bowl roster thing. Very rarely do the team with the best roster, best quarterback, best coach win the Super Bowl. Very rarely. You know why? There are variables during the season that change things. Sometimes guys get injured on other teams and even the playing field, and that team gets hot. There's so many things about it. So like when people come to me about Super Bowl roster and, you know, you can't win, who's to say to guarantee that the 49ers win the Super Bowl just because a quarterback, like again, I think a lot of people lose sight of the fact that there are 31 teams that don't win the Super Bowl, and there are variables as to the reason that one team won the Super Bowl. Like right now, you're looking at the Rams, and you're looking at them and saying, man, how did they win that shit last year? Seriously. Yeah. Like, how did they win that shit? And you look back and you say, you know what? The 49ers gave it to them. Like, it's just, again, when we talk about, like, you know, people speak in such definitives about, man, we're going to the Super Bowl, we're rolling. You know how hard that is? That's why only one team wins it. So, hey, I don't want to cut you off or anything like that. I just we got a bunch of callers that are popped in. Thank you for popping in, bro. I appreciate you, man. And I appreciate the kind words before you hopped on, man.
Hey, nice name, bro. That's my name too, homie. They've been always calling me that. So,
there we go. There we go.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Peace.
All right, bro. Later, babe. All right, we got Juan popping on. Javi, what's up, bro? What you drinking on?
Just an Ultra. It's been a long day.
Oh, Michelob. All right. I hear you. We got Juan popping on. Juan, what's up, buddy?
Hey, what's up, man? I've commented a couple of times. I've been watching you for a while.
Appreciate you.
The thing is that Kyle kind of lets the team down. You know what I mean? Like the Super Bowl calls and stuff like that. He kind of blew that lead. Goes back to Atlanta, blows that lead in their Super Bowl run. And now with Trey getting hurt, like there's a lot of things going on that people aren't holding, like half of the fan base, I guess, is holding Kyle responsible, right? And it feels like Harbaugh had things rolling and he got run out of town for a lot less.
Well, you know why Harbaugh got run out of town? Oh, his phone rang.
Uh-oh. Sorry, got a phone call.
No, you're good. No, so you know why Harbaugh got ran out of town, right? Like it's just his
egos.
Yeah, well, his personality is hard to mesh with. You got 3 years with Harbaugh, basically. Michigan, they're never gonna let him go. Like he is literally like, he build a statue like for him. Like, but you got 3 years to get it done with Harbaugh before he wears out his welcome. Like, and also Jed and them, Jed overvalued what he thought he had and what he thought he could build. So, like, I'm not going to put all of it on him, but I'm sorry. Keep going.
Right. No, I just tried to compare the two, right? Harbaugh was a really good coach, had, a good Super Bowl team. And here we are again, good coach, another Super Bowl team. And it's like we're going down the same path with Jimmy. And I don't know. It's just weird to me.
Well, look, I think that it's fair that you feel like that. And you have your history of it, right? Like a lot of people, RG3, all these things, right? Like you have everything that you need if you're talking about this argument. My question would be to people about, and I'm not saying you, I'm just saying in general, the whole fire Kyle thing. Where do we go from there?
Yeah. That's the question, right? Is who's out there? Who, I don't know. There's
James Franklin.
People have brought
Lane
it up.
Kiffin.
Chip Kelly, right? Those are worth
Right. So
right.
It's funny because we're all 49er fans and we just remember what it was right before Kyle got there.
Oh yeah. It was horrible. Horrible.
Right. And if you make a similar decision, you better have a plan in place that you feel good about. There's no wonder kids on the block right now. Literally, what everybody was doing after Kyle got hired was, have you ever met Kyle Shanahan? Have you ever been in an elevator with him? We're gonna hire you.
Right.
Sean McVay, LaFleur, like Zach Taylor, like literally all these guys got jobs because they worked with Kyle, and that's what everybody was.
Yeah, as long as you were Kyle adjacent, right? You were getting a
right,
job.
right, exactly, like exactly. So like I think that it's easy to say that right now. Obviously, like who would you go to right at this point? But who would you go to? Like there isn't a head coaching option out there. There isn't a head coaching option out there that you say.
There's not a for sure.
Right.
Lincoln Riley.
100%.
Right.
Lincoln Riley. But look, it's just, hey, look, if that's what they want to do, that's fine. Like they did it with Harbaugh and it worked immediately. I mean, again, that roster was cultivated for Harbaugh to come in and mold it, right? Like Singletary couldn't get it done and he got the most. So I'll give him that. But again, where do we go from here? Juan, I don't want to cut you off, man. We're already 46 minutes in. We got a bunch of callers in here, man. I appreciate you calling in, bro. I really do, man.
Yeah, man. Taking the call.
Yeah, no problem. Have a good night, man.
Later, bro.
So Rob Gotti, y'all seen 3 games and now him and Kyle not a good fit. No one said they're not a good fit, bro. Like we didn't say that at all.
We got Keith in here. Keith, what's happening? I love that background you got there, man. What's going on?
Oh yeah, got that. What's going on, man? How y'all doing?
What up?
Good, man. Thanks for calling in. What's on your mind?
I got a home run hitter if he would come.
Sean Payton.
The only guy. That's it.
That's it.
That's it.
Mike.
Everybody else, we need to stay with what we got. I know Kyle's flaws and all that, but we've been in places we haven't been in 10 years since Harbaugh was here. Everybody blaming Jimmy for that throw. I'm spot on with you. I don't ever expect Jimmy to carry us. He will not be the scapegoat for me to blame for us losing that Super Bowl. I mean, his paycheck is what it is, but I don't look at Jimmy as that type of player. So you go up 10 points, even like last year in the NFC Championship, you got a Super Bowl defense that you think they should be able to close that game out for you.
And I'll say this: the only reason that Sean Payton is not an option is because he's on Fox waiting for them to fire Mike McCarthy.
Yep.
And he'll be the Dallas Cowboys coach next year. Man.
Yep. Jerry Jones got deep pockets.
I got another place for him. I don't think he's going to go somewhere without it. I would rather coach Justin Herbert than coach Dak Prescott.
They like Brandon Staley, though. I mean, obviously us.
You think they'll like him if they don't make the playoffs again this year?
I think they like him because he's cheap and
valid point.
The Spanos family is cheap. They pay $1 in rent a year at that stadium.
Yeah, and the thing is Sean Payton is a Parcells disciple. It lines up too well. Finally, right? Like the way that Jerry Jones is going to be able to sell this team to everybody next year after they like completely fall flat on their face. Unfortunately, Dak's not there, and I'm not going to victory lap that. I hate that. Like I want to see Dak play, but they're going to be able to sell that team to everybody, and their stock is going to go immediately through the roof once they sign Sean Payton and they get CD back, they get Gallup back, and they probably make another splash edition, something like that. it's too much of a fit. Like I think right
You
there at
think
that
so?
point. Now I will say this: the whole LA thing, something different. You know, like you get to go to
Right.
SoFi. You know, you get a piece of that stadium. That's something different. But I think that because what they lay with Parcells, and I really do think that they really would have traded if the New Orleans Saints were stupid enough to say, "Hey, we'll trade Peyton to you," you know, for the Cowboys would have done it immediately. But they're gonna run it with McCarthy this year. They'll see what happens. They'll probably fire him, you know, at the end of the year, and they'll just go right to Peyton. That's just my opinion.
Here's my only thing with that. Peyton is a caliber of coach that he gets to come in and run everything. I don't know if Jerry Jones is going. Like Payne is not interviewing for a job. He's telling you what he wants in order for him to come there.
That's very fair.
And so I also think Sean Payton saw what happened with Parcells, who is one of his big brothers in the industry, mentors. So I don't know, that didn't end well with him and Parcells. And so I think it could also go the other way because Jerry, I don't see him giving up that franchise while he's still coherent. I really don't.
Is he coherent though?
I was gonna say I don't know why. I mean, all right, so he's breathing. He's breathing. I'll say that. I'm not sure he's coherent, right?
Well, he's still doing shows every week. He's talking I don't see Peyton going to a place where he's not the forefront of the organization. I know he had problems with the Bensons, but he still was in charge down there in New Orleans.
Yeah, that man's at the 2-minute warning.
Good call. Yeah, he's getting close. He's getting real close. That's why his son is in there. And so look, what he can do is he can fall back into the shadows. Stephen Jones can run things and he can puppeteer that thing, you know, from behind the scenes. And, you know, I think that it's going to get to a point that he hired McCarthy because McCarthy signed up for PFF Elite and told him that he was in on the analytics and everything. And he was like, oh, shit, this guy knows analytics, PFF. And like but at this point, it's getting to a point where they have to really put a product on the field that everybody feels good about. Like even the most staunch Dallas Cowboys like supporter looks at them like, yeah, we ain't doing shit this year. Like as long as Mike McCarthy's there. But if they get Sean Payton, it re-energizes everybody, you know. So Keith, I don't want to kick you out, man, but we got a lot of people, man.
I got one more thing before
go ahead. Go for it.
So I guess I'm gonna project to next year. Because I agree with you guys now. Now that you look back at everything, you trade 3 first-round picks for somebody who's going to play right away, right? And now we're going to go on to year 3 next year. What do you think is going to happen? Are we going to re-sign Jimmy again?
You know what's going to happen is the discourse is going to happen.
Well, thanks, you guys.
Yeah.
No. I got you, man. No, you're on here, man. The discourse is going to continue to happen, and that's the problem. Is pushing this down another year is going to continue the discourse that we all have grown tired of. And it's just going to make this happen over and over again because we, rightfully so, will still have the same questions about Trey Lance because he hasn't played. He just hasn't played. And I think that if Jimmy Garoppolo does what I think he's about to do, because it would just be so 49ers for him to do. Win a bunch of games. His team makes a deep playoff run. Not God forbid, because you always want the 49ers to win a Super Bowl. 49ers win a Super Bowl. How do you sell the locker room and say, this guy won the Super Bowl. We won the Super Bowl, and you're going to let him leave. How do you sell that? And I don't think you can. I don't think you can. Go, Javi.
I mean, well, what helps in this situation is Jimmy does have he is a free agent at the end of the year, and there is no tag on his contract that he just signed. So they can't do shit if he decides to leave.
No. And if he wins, who could actually argue saying get rid of him at this point? Seriously.
People who really, really dislike Jimmy Garoppolo. Look, I don't think Jimmy Garoppolo's a good quarterback. Do I dislike him to the point where I'd rather see the Niners lose games because of it? No, absolutely not. No. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, it comes down to wins and losses. Now, process over results. I do hate the process of how they win games with him. But at the end of the day, if they win a Super Bowl with Jimmy Garoppolo, it is going to be very, very hard for this franchise to sell that to its season ticket holders. Like, yo, we're going to let this guy go because the crowd went nuts the minute that man stepped in the field. Right. They were chanting Jimmy's name in that stadium. And I said it before on my show. I did on your show. I did on the Niners Nation pod that Jimmy Garoppolo, you take Twitter away. Take Twitter away. It's not in a fucking real place. That stadium
Colin Cowherd said.
And fans hold Jimmy Garoppolo in a high regard. We've been to Levi's. People love Jimmy at Levi's. right? There's not think about it. There's 2 million people that follow the 49ers Twitter page. There's probably 7 million fans in the world that love the 49ers. The very small percentage of people who have a gripe with Jimmy Garoppolo versus the very large amount of people at the 70,000 fans in a stadium. Like you're a blip in the thing.
Yeah.
Right? This man is loved by this fan base in real life.
Right. So 5K collectibles, if I could push back on this respectfully, he says it's sickening to see how fast Kyle changed the play calling and mostly passing. Once Trey went down, Kyle could have called those same plays for Trey. If he didn't trust Trey, he shouldn't have started him. If you watch that initial drive that Jimmy took over, starts in the pistol.
I had the same thought as him. And yes, when you watch the tape, you're like, oh shit.
What more can be said? Jimmy Garoppolo doesn't run pistol. That's Trey. Those throws would have. So literally, what Kyle was setting up, and I'm going to come off as a Kyle apologist. That's fine. Run. Get in there. Score your points, and then the third drive, start hitting them because they're anticipating the run. I mean, Jimmy Garoppolo wouldn't be in pistol if they completely switched up what they wanted to do. So this is just my pushback on this. If you watch the tape, watch the first formation that they come out on the third drive that is there. Jimmy's in pistol. They didn't change anything. That's literally the script. He lies sometimes. He ain't lie this time. Let's get to Jay Aguayo real quick, man. He's been patient. Jay, what's up, bro?
Hey, what's going on, gentlemen?
What's up, bro?
Appreciate you being patient, and appreciate the other people that are on calls being patient, man. What's on your mind, though?
Oh, I just don't understand, why we are so divided over QB situation. I mean, we're 49er fans. We're not fans. We're not just Trey fans. We're not just Jimmy fans. We're 49er fans, and we have to stick together and get behind whoever the QB is there. If Purdy is there, God forbid, we're gonna have to cheer for Brock Purdy to succeed. And
I love that you said God forbid. That's how it feels. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. And so we need to pivot from what should have been done, or what could have been done. The thing is in the past. Let's move forward. We can't do anything about. None of us can do anything and wish for, and it could have been. That's in the past. Let's move forward and support our team. And I think we have a good enough team that can go into the playoffs, and you just want to get into the playoffs. Anything can happen in the playoffs.
Yeah, and look, I 100% wholeheartedly agree with you on this. Rehashing the same arguments that you have been making since 2019, which is basically what any Jimmy detractor has been doing, is completely useless at this point. At least last year, if you had gripes with Jimmy, there was Trey Lance there, and you wanted to see that. I don't want to see Brock Purdy. I don't want to see Brock Purdy. So you know what you do? You shut the hell up. You feel bad for Trey. You say, hey, look, this is what it is. I feel terrible for Trey. But you roll with the guy. Like, you just roll with him. One thing that I said earlier in the show, and I don't know if you were here for it with Tony, what Jimmy provides is a baseline. I know what this offense is going to look like. And that's comforting. Because it wouldn't be comforting if Nate Sudfeld or Brock Purdy took over. So what's so hard right now about, saying, I am gutted that Trey Lance is injured, because I am.
Yes.
But I'm also happy and lucky that Jimmy Garoppolo decided to, because Jimmy Garoppolo could have turned around and said, you know what, Kyle Shanahan, you want me back? Go fuck yourself. Could have said that.
Yeah.
But he didn't. And thank God he's here. And thank God that this offense can at least roll and be functional. Now, whether that means Super Bowl or not, that's what we get to discuss with the rest of this year. But at the same time, I don't understand. I feel it's counterproductive, and I feel like you're spinning your wheels, and you are it's an exercise in futility to continue to bring up the things that we already know about Jimmy Garoppolo and use it as a negative. What you should be saying is, thank goodness he's here. Thank goodness we at least have this baseline. Javi, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, they got lucky. Like, we're not having to deal with Jimmy Garoppolo getting hurt and dealing with CJ Beathard and Nick Mullins anymore. Trey Lance got hurt, and you're back to Jimmy Garoppolo. You're back to, okay, cool, we can play winning football, right? You have an offense that can be third down efficient. You have an offense that can be red zone efficient, right? And the turnovers are going to exist, but they're not to the level of Nick Mullins or CJ Beathard, and you can survive that. And that's the thing, and it sucks because
I'm sorry. I had to bring this up. Emilio O says, hey, I've been a Jimmy detractor since before 2019. Please respect it.
and with the fan base, and I think part of it, every fan base has this, right? If you have, like, you can talk to Vikings fans, they don't like Kirk Cousins, but you have guys who love Kirk Cousins, right? You got people with the Alex Smith, Colin Kaepernick. We've been down this road before. Alex versus Cap, we've been there, right? You had a winning quarterback in Alex Smith the 2011 season. He gets hurt halfway through. They're 6-2 when he gets hurt. He's playing his best football of his career. Harbaugh said, "Nah, I got this." He did the whole Usher thing. Watch this. Here's Colin Kaepernick, right? So we've been down this road before, and it's not. Everyone has a preference. I've always loved mobile quarterbacks. I'm a athletic quarterback. Like, that's like, I'm staying for that. Like, that's what I've been wanting Kyle Shanahan to have, and they finally got it. And it sucks that he's hurt. Now at this point, it's pointless to keep shitting on Jimmy because we know for sure that this has an expiration date. It should at least. Right.
And can I just say one last thing, because I know you guys are up against it.
No, you're good, man. You're good, man. Take your time, man. I want to make sure that everybody gets to speak their piece.
Okay, so the other thing that I kind of don't understand is, they always keep saying that Shanahan doesn't have a winning record. Mm-hmm. Well, obviously, when he got here, he didn't have the talent that he has now. He had to basically get the talent back up to be a contender. And of course, he lost those. What do we lose? 10 in a row? 10 in a row, or
you're making
10 in a row, something like that. I mean, come on, guys. If anybody would have come in, Sean Payton, let's just say Sean Payton would have come in with the talent now, of course he's going to have a winning record starting now. But Shanahan started, who the hell was it? The guy that's now a backup for New England, right? What was his name?
Brian Hoyer.
Yeah. Are you really going to tell me that anybody could win with Brian Hoyer? Come on. And the offensive line, come on. So that's kind of what gets me too.
At the same time, and to your point, didn't mean to cut you off, but to your point is this: it's always, what's his record without Jimmy Garoppolo? Yeah, well, when the plumber, the electrician, the accountant are your starting quarterbacks, you're not gonna usually win games.
Exactly.
So, and that's not a knock at Jimmy. Again,
no.
Jimmy is on any given week, a 13 to 17 to 20 top quarterback in this league. That's valuable. That's valuable. There's only 32 starters. He's up there, right? But at the same time, that argument has never made sense to me either. It's never jived with me in that way either, man. Jay, I agree with you 100%.
And the last thing I want to say before I go is that, regardless, like you say, whatever any 49er fan thinks of Jimmy Garoppolo, the guys that are right there in the locker room, mm-hmm. they believe in him. And if they believe in him, I believe in him.
Yep.
Okay. Because he's proven that, okay, like you said, he's 15 to 17 kind of quarterback. But when the chips were down last year against the Cincinnati Bengals, the Rams, he came up and he did what he had to do. He made some throws that were top notch. They were top notch. And he brought us back that 2-minute warning the drive against the Rams, when he had to drive us. He drove us. He got us there. And all I care about is results. It's a business, winning or losing. Win or lose. And that's the last I'm going to say about it. But thanks again for giving me a time. And I really like your show. I appreciate you guys. And you guys stay blessed, huh?
Appreciate you, man. And thank you so much for calling in. Yo, we really appreciate that. And yeah, at the end of the day, it is what it is. Win the game. Win the games. And I don't care who's the quarterback. Thank you, man. Appreciate you, bro. All right, Javi, we're going to take 2 more callers because it's already past my bedtime. I'm watching the Yankees blow leads on that. Are
they losing again?
They're tied now. They literally just took the lead. Yeah, they literally just took the lead. But I am very excited to bring this next guy on, man. I really am, man. I really am. Dawson, what's happening?
Nothing much.
Let's go, my boy. All right. So look, first of all, I want to say I love your setup. Second of all, I want to say I am so sorry about TDP. And I know that
LSU.
I know that this was, it's all about the hyphenated running backs from LSU. And you know what's funny is he had some very good runs yesterday. I mean on Sunday, looked good. I you know what's funny? I thought of you immediately. Like when he went down, I was like, damn. I was like, TDP. But what's on your mind, Dawson? What's going on, buddy? Good to see you, man.
It's just, sorry, a bit nervous type of guy.
Take it. No. Look, Dawson. Take your time. You got it. You're in a safe space. Don't look at the comments. Look at us. Talk to us.
Well, so Trey Lance running is like a problem, and with like Kyle Shanahan and play calling and all that stuff, right? And I'm like, is there any other examples of, does a fan base question how much you run a quarterback, right? And currently the only one I know the most is LSU with their quarterback right now, Jaden Daniels, and that's just because I cover him, right? And Ryan Kelly was once asked the question, "Are you tired of Jaden Daniels running this much?" Right? And what he said, let me pull it up here, right? You want to be careful where you go, right, with calling plays for him, right? You can say, hey, you're running too much. And then when he needs to be dynamic, be this playmaker, he's not this playmaker. So and he's like, goes on to say, you got to be careful. You got to make him comfortable with what he knows what to do. No matter, even if you have a first round wide receiver lining up for LSU.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just, I don't understand, being mad at Kyle Shanahan for just letting Trey Lance be Trey Lance. And that makes
right.
sense.
And Dawson, I think a thing that a lot of people don't like to hear, and I guess I'll just let it fly here while you're here. Trey's not developed as a passer at this point, right?
And neither is Jaden Daniels. He is probably inaccurate, and
right.
So he still is the best option right now.
Right. Okay. So I'm glad you said that, right? So Jimmy Garoppolo is the more polished passer, and I don't think anybody can dispute that. But that doesn't make Jimmy Garoppolo a very good passer or a great passer. It means that he's a better passer than Trey Lance. But again, the shift goes from what did you expect with Trey Lance? And again, a lot of 49er fans kind of said all the right things during the offseason. I'm ready for the bumps and bruises. Well, we'll take the ups and downs. And then week 1 happens and everybody loses their shit. And they just light their house on fire. And it's like, well, were you really ready for the ups and downs? Or were you just saying that because it sounded level-headed, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that it's fair to say all of those things. And I think it's very fair to say that Jimmy is the more polished passer. But, and for people to say, well, why don't you make him throw to learn? Well, if he's throwing and they throw on second and third down and they're just getting off the field and they're not scoring points and winning games, this is the tightrope act that they've tried to balance the entire year.
Yeah,
can we develop him and can we win games? Go, Dawson. You got it.
Like when I made a video, right, about, can you really blame Kyle Shanahan, right? And my major point was he's chasing wins and has to develop a quarterback. Those two things don't make sense together. Like, you want to win games, right? What's the best way to win games with Trey Lance? Make him run, right? And occasionally deep shots, pistol, whatever, right? And that's like, just,
No, I hear you, Dawson. Like, that's the thing is the best. And look, this doesn't mean that I believe this or anything like that, or that this is what Kyle believes. The way for him to sustain drives on third down, for him to get first downs, this was with his legs.
Don't to make Trey Lance comfortable.
Right. And don't look at me like, oh, you believe that. It doesn't matter what I believe. That's what Kyle was doing. So if you have a gripe with that, you don't have a gripe with what I'm saying. You have a gripe with what Kyle is doing. Javi, what do you think about that?
I mean, I said it to start when I hopped on. How do you win games while you develop a quarterback? Kyle's chasing wins. He needs to win. He can't go into the season and come out of it with a 10-loss season again, because that'd be 4 in 6 seasons. He can't do that, right? So, this is where I said it earlier, and I think it's going to be an unpopular take, and people can do whatever the hell they want with it. But, maybe this was not the best situation for Trey Lance because you have a ready-to-win roster now with a guy who has the most upside, right, based on potential, but he's also the rawest quarterback of the draft class, and he's the one with the least experience. He's going to be the one who needs to grow and get all these reps. So you're sacrificing wins for development, right? But you're also wanting to win now too. So it's just this really hard situation for Kyle and Lance to navigate through together while also keeping the locker room intact and being like, what the fuck are we doing? We let the guy go who helped us get to a Super Bowl, who helped us get to a NFC Championship game again, and we're starting over. And I think someone DM'd me the other day, just a conversation. He's like, I understand why now teams get the quarterback first and then build around the quarterback. You have a team that's ready to go now. You just implanted this young guy and said, okay, go get it.
Right.
It's tough, man. It's a tough situation for Lance. It's a tough situation for Kyle. It's a tough situation for the fan base. And I feel bad for the fan base the most because we're all invested no matter who the quarterback is, right? Like we can all feel the way we feel about Jimmy Garoppolo. You can feel the way you feel about Trey Lance. But at the end of the day, when Sunday at 1 p.m., when it's 1 p.m., guess what? All our happy asses are in the stadium or watching the game. Mm-hmm. Right? You have all these opinions and everyone's pissed off or everyone's happy and this is my guy, this is your guy, whatever. But the fan base has to sustain this as too. It's like, fuck, man. We just went to an NFC title game, but now our odds to get back there are less because we implanted this quarterback here who we all believe in. I think most of us believe in this kid.
Yeah.
Well, we all, for those who
we want to see him succeed at least. We want to see him
succeed. For those of us who aren't super casual about the football, understand, hey, this kid's going to take time. It takes time. This was going to take time. This is why I said rip the Band-Aid off last year. But ultimately, Kyle Shanahan was right to not rip the Band-Aid off last year because that was a team ready to go. They got real fucking close to another Super Bowl.
Yeah. Right.
It's a tough balancing act, and I do not envy Kyle Shanahan for doing this or John Lynch, right? No matter who we want to blame or whatever else. To me, there's no one to blame on this. It is football. Guys get injured. I was initially upset about it, but there's the kid is raw, and we knew that. Yeah. We all knew it as the fan base.
Yeah. 100%.
Problem is, I'm guilty of it. I'm guilty of it, and I'll take blame for here. I said start the kid. I said start the kid early on. Why? Because I thought he was better than Jimmy Garoppolo.
And you wanted to kick off the development, but no, and you wanted to kick off the development process. Say that, like it's less. It's not even so. Look, all right. I want to push back on that a little bit, Javi. It wasn't necessarily that I believed that he was better than Jimmy Garoppolo. Is like, don't waste the rookie contract. Start everything and get it going. Now, obviously, that's why they made the decisions. And I'm just a guy with the the Spider-Man and Batman shit behind me. Like, that's why I wanted that to happen. But look, I can't argue with the result. They were this close to a Super Bowl berth again. So I'm not going to argue with that result. But that was my reasoning behind it. It wasn't because I'm like, well, he's better than Jimmy. It's because start this now. Because when year 3 happens on the rookie contract and he's already developed, now look at where you're at, as opposed to we're going to go into year 3 of this and we're going to have the same questions that we had from year 1. That was really my issue.
And then the other thing that
this year option.
And the other thing that sucks about this is you'll get Trey Lance in his 3rd year. So you didn't even get to maximize this rookie contract.
All right, hold on a second. First of all, admin, and I don't want to, pick on you or anything like that. Making the NFC Championship makes you already close to the Super Bowl. And let alone having a lead going into the 4th quarter. Yeah, you're super close. So yes, they were very close. I don't even know why you brought that up, and I apologize if I sound like I'm like cutting you down or anything like that.
But there's the other thing I was gonna say was you brought up the contract. The whole point of getting a rookie or a rookie quarterback is because of the contract. So that way you can pay both. So you pay these guys, right? Let's say you get Lance. Let's say Lance next year plays well. Okay, cool. You want to see it again? Year 4. He plays well. Now you have the decision on this 5th-year option, which, if I'm not mistaken, is $38 million for a quarterback that you may or may not be sure about, right? Because what if in year 3 he's just and then year 4 he's kind of a little bit better than
Right.
Do you want to commit $38 million to that guy?
Right. Look at what the Giants just did. They have a whole new regime, and they said, you know what? We don't even know what Daniel Jones is, and we're just gonna figure that out. I don't want to. That's not apples to apples. Dawson, I gotta get you. I gotta move on to the next guy. Man.
Yeah,
I've already been here for an hour 15. No, thank you for joining, bro. I appreciate you. Matter of fact, shout out to Dawson. Plug your channel real quick, man, because you do LSU, and I see people in here like repping LSU and 49ers content. Plug your
It's a
channel
clean
real
hat
quick.
too.
And,
That hat is fire.
yeah, man, it's fire.
Thank you. I make 49ers and LSU content like 8 videos a week, like one for each and all that. Yeah,
Appreciate
and it's
you,
all with a
Dawson,
green
man.
screen that's currently below there. But yeah,
Oh, big man with the
Screen.
green screen, man. Like you didn't have to flex on us like that,
Yeah,
Dawson.
hashtag
I
Wells.
appreciate you, man. And I know how I guess I know how nervous you probably were jumping on here, man. Appreciate you. I need to make sure that you get back on or whatever. We'll figure it out, bro. I promise you, man. And thank you for joining, man, as always.
Mhm.
Appreciate
Just
you,
wanted
bro.
to talk and all that because I'm bored.
Nah, man. We're not bored. It's football season. What are we talking about? Let's go. All right, Dawson.
But
peace out, man.
thanks for the opportunity. Yeah.
All right, man. Keith, again, man, thank you for the donation. You've been generous this entire time. He may not have lost 10 straight, but had he scouted Mahomes and Watson, this quarterback thing has been bungled from the jump. I mean, a lot of
Correct.
people have that similar sentiment, and I don't disagree with that. And also remember, he was waiting for Cousins, so we can't leave that part out of it. Black Cesar, I believe, if I said that right. You can't have your cake and eat it too. Develop your quarterback now and use the cap space to build around your prospect. We reached our zenith with Jimmy. I don't think that there's anybody with a brain or somebody who would, is rationally thinking that would disagree with that. I really don't, honestly.
I don't either.
We got one more caller. Wolf, what's up, buddy, man? What's going on?
What's
Yo,
up, bro?
first of all, thank you for being patient, bro. You're our last caller. You got to take it home. No pressure. You got this.
Take us home, bro.
But,
Yeah, I appreciate
but
it.
thank you
I
for
d-
being patient, man. I didn't want to like cut people off or anything like that. I wanted everybody to be able to say their piece. But yeah, man, what's on your mind?
Real quick, I was gonna become a member, but I can't use my debit card right now, so apologies for that. So by Friday,
You're good, man.
yeah, I'll be a member by Friday, and then I'll be
Let's
able
go.
to call in from the community link, right?
Let's
So
go.
I want to go towards defense a little bit because I know the narrative's
Good.
been a lot.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Let's
yeah.
yeah.
But real
Look,
quick,
talk
I
real
want to
quick. Talk real quick. I got to do something real fast. I'm gonna be listening to you though. I'm here though. I got you.
Okay. Shit. Okay.
Talk. I got you. I can hear you. I got my AirPods. I'll be
no, 'cause
right
I
over
was-
there. I got you.
Okay. So, because you mentioned something about Jimmy Garoppolo having the opportunity to basically tell the 49ers to fuck off. And it seems like he did have that opportunity. I heard about a report from ESPN that Lynch went to Shanahan back in early August talking about, hey, man, what would you think about bringing Garoppolo back if we could work it out? And I guess Kyle Shanahan basically scoffed at it. And he's like, yeah, right. Like that would happen. He's all, but if you can make it happen, try. And this was around the time that that we're hearing about a lot of inconsistency with Trey Lance in training camp, right? So Jimmy Garoppolo basically says he basically tried to do that. He basically tried to tell the 49ers, fuck off. I'm going to try and, get this deal done with somebody else, but he couldn't get it done, of course, right? So he did try to tell them to fuck off. I heard you mention that earlier, but to the defense, bro, thank you. We were talking about how great this defense could be, and it can help carry whoever was at quarterback, right? So the D-line is a big narrative around that. Bosa getting 20 sacks, hopefully. And we're already seeing something play into effect with all that. The coverage sacks, bro. I know you guys saw the.
Oh,
Dude,
yes. I mean, imagine that. I mean, in 2019, this team couldn't get a coverage sack. In 2020, this defense was that good. In 2021, it was that good. Now, quarterbacks are not going to be able to. Mooney Ward hasn't given up a catch, I think, or something like that. Like it was some absurd stat. And now this is when people came at me and said, well, it can't be better than 2019. Sure, the defensive line top heavy. You can't really beat that. But now you marry that with this coverage, and Jimmy Ward doesn't play the snap.
Yep.
Jimmy Ward doesn't play the
Hell
snap.
yeah.
Keep going.
Bro, Mosley, I had written down because I have my podcast too. And so for my notes, I had written down for last week that Mosley was invisible. I didn't see him at all in that first game, but that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Just like O-line, right? So I was very happy about that with well, because in the Seahawks game, I noticed there was, I forget what play it was, but Geno Smith was in the pocket, and initially there was not really any pressure. He had a clean pocket, and he goes back to throw, did the Jimmy pump fake, and it looked like he was going to throw it. I'm bracing myself like, oh shit, is this going to be a big play? He ends up tucking it because it wasn't there after all because of coverage, and Bosa got the sack. Beautiful stuff, man. And what is it? 3 sacks in 2 games. Badass stuff.
I mean, he's on pace for, what is it, 25 and a half and like 82 pressures. I mean, I don't know if that's sustainable, but it's a good start. And I don't know if that's good, but that's a really good but look, Jesus,
hell yeah, it is.
Yeah, Jesus, thank you for your donation, man. Appreciate you, man. Jason, apparently a foot and ankle surgeon who is a consultant that said that Trey's injury could be fully healthy in 10 to 12 weeks. What are your thoughts? I think we gave it a little bit earlier. I'm going to let you go, Wolf, real quick. What do you have to say about that?
Okay, so what's our time frame here?
So 10 to 12 weeks. We're in week 2.
No.
That means
I mean, like, how much time are you giving me?
You're the last caller. That's it. You're the last caller.
It.
We got this. Go for it.
Yeah, I was going to talk about this on my show as well, but we got to remember this is an outside source, and I want to get my hopes up. I want to see the kid back. And I wrote this down too, Javi, because I heard you were talking about it. I've been athletic quarterback activist myself, bro, because Jimmy Garoppolo is way too one-dimensional, and the league's just going that way, right? Yeah, and I'm going to disagree with you, Javi. Garoppolo is a good quarterback. He's not a great quarterback, but he's a good quarterback. He's what? Where would you rank him? I would say maybe number 16 in the world. That's the world. So I think that makes him a good quarterback. I would like to hear what you think about that, but I'm definitely an athletic quarterback activist like yourself.
No, and again, whenever we say that Garoppolo is a 13 to 17 guy on any given week, because on certain weeks he looks like he's closer to 12 than he is 17, but whenever we say that, it's always taken as a negative. There are elite quarterbacks in this league. And then after that tier of like the elite guys, everybody kind of just shuffles. Yeah. Carr, Cousins, Mayfield, all those guys, they kind of shuffle week to week. One week, Derek Carr throws for 400 yards. You're like, oh, shit, look at him. The next week, he completely throws up an egg against the Cardinals, and you're like, he stinks. Kirk Cousins throws for 400. Oh, Sunday Night Football, look at how bad Kirk Cousins is. Like, it's all these guys are interchangeable. But
yeah, they all make mistakes.
And they're not, and that's not a negative for Jimmy Garoppolo. Like, you are just in this tier. That's who you are. I think we've all understood that. We've overanalyzed it. But why is it a negative to call a spade a spade? And the funny part is the 49ers can be successful with a quarterback in that range. Look how far they've gotten with a great defense and playing complementary football. Like, I don't understand why people feel the need to either talk about Jimmy Garoppolo and put him way lower than he should be or way higher than he should be. Why is it so bad to just say, hey, any given week, he's 13 to 17, 13 to 18, depending on the week. Some weeks he's better than Kirk. Some weeks Kirk's better than him.
I think it's just people trying to help their narrative in this 49ers civil war we got going on here.
Oh, man. I mean, it's literally like, what side are you on? Is it Team
like
Cap?
Team Jacob?
Is it Team Cap? Or is it Team Cap? Is it Team Iron Man? I don't know which side would be the either. Yeah. But so our thoughts real quick, Jesus, before we get to, before we continue this conversation. It would be perfect for Trey Lance to be ready to go in 12 weeks, 10 weeks, and then we have to rehash all this because you know why? We're 49ers fans and we're 49ers content creators. Of course, this is exactly what would happen. So my thoughts are we'll cross that bridge when we get there, but I am certain, or I'm fairly certain that this bridge is going to happen. This bridge is going to be built, and that's what we're going to get.
And then, so just to answer your question, Wolf, I think Jimmy Garoppolo is closer to 20 than he is 13. Right. That's just the numbers. Cool. They win a lot of games, right? They win.
Sorry, Joey.
With Garoppolo, he's a win with quarterback, right? There's always an asterisk around how they got that win. And I don't know who said the analogy. I think it was Benjamin Solak. He's like, Jimmy Garoppolo is the arsonist. He's also the firefighter. Right. Yeah. If you're a good quarterback, you don't create those fires, right?
Yeah.
You extinguish the fires that your defense may have created. You don't extinguish the fires that you created. And that's the issue with Jimmy Garoppolo. We go back to the Bengals game. The only reason that game went to the way it went was Jimmy couldn't do shit in the second half. And then when it came, nut cutting time, he made a couple of throws and they get into scoring position. But a lot of it is Kyle Shanahan has basically convinced a lot of people that Jimmy Garoppolo is this high level quarterback. But if you look at some of these pass charts, Jimmy Garoppolo was one of the highest rated quarterbacks to hit wide open targets. And that's part of why they've been so successful. Kyle can scheme guys up to make things very, very easy for Jimmy Garoppolo. You force this man to stay in the pocket much longer and process the field, his QBR tanks. Anything under 2.5 seconds, his QBR is on through the roof. And that's part of what the Kyle Shanahan thing is with him. Anytime Jimmy Garoppolo rolls out of the pocket, I think we're all scared shitless. Anytime the ball leaves the screen on your TV, I think we're all scared shitless, right?
You just hold your breath. You hold your breath.
You're like, oh shit,
100%.
Right?
Yeah.
So that, to me, that would not make him a good quarterback. Is he decent enough? Yes. Is he terrible? Absolutely not. But he's a serviceable starting NFL quarterback. He is closer to 20 than he is to 13. And, when you have like these numbers aren't like you can't have 20 touchdowns to 12 interceptions, right? That's just not a sustainable model without the only reason they got to where they were last year was Deebo Samuel had to save them in Chicago, right? You have a defensive line that's going to get after the quarterback and get you almost.
Wait, Javi. Deebo Samuel had to save them. Are we talking about the team or are we talking about Jimmy's job? Because I was sitting right next to you during it.
Both of them.
Both.
So yeah, because Trey Lance was warming up at halftime. They were ready to move.
And I'm not, I think what my opinion of Jimmy gets misconstrued. I don't ever think he's terrible. Like he's serviceable. I've said this before. He's a starting level quarterback in the NFL. He's a guy that's going to bring you stability. He's a guy that's going to help build your culture. He's a guy that can help get you a couple wins here and there, right? If you need him to make a few plays, he can probably do that, but don't ask him to do too much, right? If you need him to make 2 or 3 big time throws a game, he might make those. But for the most part, Kyle's making it very, very simple for him. There's a reason why his air yards numbers are so low. There's a reason why the difference in the Seattle game just this Sunday was proof in the pudding. For those who don't follow Rich Madrid, he put it out there. The way the box looked.
They made adjustments in the second half.
You had 8-man fronts for a quarterback for Jimmy Garoppolo, and you had 6-man fronts for Trey Lance. There is more room to operate when you have a quarterback who can throw past the sticks and you have mobility with the quarterback. With Jimmy Garoppolo, everything is sat on, the middle of the field is condensed, and you have to force him to make these throws. Anything outside the numbers based on all his pass charts, because you can look at every pass chart. Next Gen Stat gives you all the pass charts. You can look it up. There is literally hardly anything.
And you can do it during the game. You can do it during the game as well.
I do it during the game. You go back in my timeline. I do it every quarter. Boom, 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 boom.
Go to Next Gen Stats and you go and you pull up the charts. You go to Game Center. You click that thing and you get to see where it was going. And funny enough, he was like 2 for 3, like outside the numbers, which is something that you normally don't see. But Juan Rivera says Montana versus Young, Smith versus Cat, Jimmy versus Trey. I think we're destined to do this dance for the end of time. It's like,
for real.
I'm not old enough to remember the Montana thing. I just remember Young, and I remember him at the end. But I think that if there is a football god, if there are football gods,
he hates us.
Well, it was just like, hey, I gave you success in the beginning. I'm gonna put y'all through hell the rest of the way, man.
Shit.
Like the rest of the way, you're gonna have to try to figure that out, man. Wolf, I appreciate you hopping on, man. Wolf, promote your shit real quick, man, before we get out of here, man. I like what you have to say, man, and get your channel out there so other people sign up.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. I hope we can continue to collaborate a little bit, but
hey, hit me on Twitter, man. Let's do it, man. Let's do it.
Well, I don't have a Twitter, so I guess I'll have to make one. But I'm
stay away. Stay away. It's a fucking
stay away. Yeah, you know what? Don't just hit me on YouTube. Actually, just like like send me a comment or something like that, and let me know, and I'll subset the channel. We'll make it happen.
Yeah, some people asked me about that, but I was like, I could barely keep up with Facebook and Instagram. Like, come on.
you got to boot Facebook too, man. But don't do Twitter, man. Just stay away, man. Like you know what? You know what's good about not being on Twitter is you get to stay away from the toxicity and you get to just be in your own zone. So stay there. Yeah, promise.
People get real ugly really fast. Yeah. But I appreciate it. My YouTube channel is Niner Gang Wolfcast. Like I said, I'm gonna become a member as soon as I can use my my debit card again. So Niner Gang Wolfcast, and I appreciate you guys, bro. Much love to you guys, and congrats on getting on Niner Nation, bro. That's
Appreciate
good
that.
to hear. Yeah,
That's a lot of that has to do with Javi too, man. So I don't want to like look, he's
Hey,
gonna act like he didn't have anything to do with it, but I appreciate that, man. It
No,
has
that's
been a good
good.
thing, man. It has
That-
been a good thing, man, and I've really been excited to be over there with them.
Oh, real quick, hey, did you guys watch the Triple G Canelo fight?
I did.
Did you notice that Aponte kid on there?
I did.
I was like,
So it's funny, man. Like my father's what that my father, they're all big. My father and my mother are huge boxing fans. I'm Puerto Rican,
same.
right? But we don't. I don't know. I mean, and I guess we're all three of us are Puerto Rican.
Trinidad.
I'm about to get booted.
Felix.
I'm about to get. I never rooted for Trinidad.
Me neither.
I didn't like him. I didn't like
What
him.
about Macho Camacho?
I did.
Camacho was
yes.
cool.
Yes.
He was cool.
Yeah.
He was cool. It's just like when Trinidad fought De La Hoya, I was on De La Hoya, and I felt
'Cause
like
of
De
the
La Hoya
smack
won that
talking.
fight. I don't care what anybody says. De La Hoya won
Because
that fight.
Trinidad was a villain.
Right. And the one time
Yeah.
that I wanted Trinidad to win was when Hopkins went to Puerto Rico. In Puerto Rico, don't know how he made it out of Puerto Rico. Stomped on the flag, and
Yeah.
was let out of town. And I said, all right, Trinidad, go. And you know what? Hopkins whipped his ass. And I said, you know what? That's why I never believed in you, bro. I wanted Fernando Vargas to win too. Like I'm like the fakest Puerto Rican, bro. Like I used to go to those parties and everything, and it would be all of them. And
Oh,
I would be
no.
there like, yeah, I hope this guy loses, man. And they would just be like,
No,
what?
that's Puerto Rican.
Nah.
Yeah.
I mean,
I was
look,
wondering.
soy
Oh,
boricua,
sorry.
but like, come on, man. Like at the same time, man, I can't root for frauds, bro. Look,
I
real
feel
quick,
you.
we'll take this one last one. 49ers like True Detective. Time is a flat circle.
It
I
is.
feel like we are destined to do this for the rest of our lives, man. We really are.
Hey, so you don't know if you're related to that guy? You have to be, huh?
No,
Somehow.
we're not really. No.
No?
My dad was like, "Hey, man, the Aponte name is Aponte's Italian, but yeah, he was just like, nah, that ain't us." So yeah. Hey, man, I just found your channel. I'm a sub to it now, man. I got you, man. Just hit me on there, bro, and we'll definitely make it happen. Shout out to you for kicking it with us too, man. Appreciate you, Wolf, man. Have a good night, Javi. Oh. What a night, man! Hour and a half, man. Appreciate you sticking around.
Yeah, of course. It's been a while.
You back out of the game, or is it like it's just tonight?
So I'm on vacation, kind of,
Mhm. Okay.
just because my wife had a medical procedure this morning, so I'm just helping. She's sleeping, so I don't got shit else to do, and I can't. I mean, I could go to work, but then I run to work, and something happens at the house, and she's bitching, and I don't want to deal with that. So, yeah, I'm off, and then I'll be in Denver on Saturday. So. So this is kind of just if you need someone for the week, just let me know. As long as I got a few minutes, I can hop on. And she's
I got
sleeping,
you.
so I'm chilling. But I think I just have a lot of thoughts on this Trey Lance and Jimmy situation.
Let's end it with this.
I have all the faith in the world that Trey Lance has the tools to get it done. I do. What I don't have faith in is how they're going to develop him, and that's my biggest concern. Right.
That's very fair.
The other thing is, when you watch Trey, it's very early in his development, and I feel like he lacks the instincts. And you sit there and you watch it, and you're like, oh shit. And I understand why the Niners are so hesitant to loosen up the leash that's on him right currently, because they have so much invested in this roster, right? They have so much invested in this team with Bosa and the Debo contract they just signed, the Bosa contract that's coming up. You got, the Trent Williams is towards the end of his career. You know what I mean? Like there's just so much going on. I can understand why Kyle's in such a weird fucking space. It's like,
Yeah.
How do I manage? Hey, look, I'm going to give this roster over to this young guy we brought in that no one, and I shouldn't say no one, but that you can kind of tell that the team is not fully behind, right? And understandably so, because I was in the military. You back people you go to war with, right? Like those are your people, right? So with Jimmy in this locker room, that's their guy. That is the only guy they've seen success with for a lot of them. So for them to make the switch, it's real tough. It's just a really tough situation. I hope Trey Lance pans out, man, because it's been too long, right? The last great quarterback we had was Steve Young, right? Yeah. It's been a long time, and no one gets this right. No fault to Kyle Shanahan or John Lynch, because how many elite quarterbacks are there in the football? 4 right now? Maybe 5. Let's say 5. Tom, Herbert, Rodgers, Allen, and Mahomes. Or 6, excuse me, Lamar. Those are your 6. Everyone else is you pick your order.
Yeah.
So 6 out of 32, that's less than 30%. So if you hit, you hit. If you don't, you keep looking for that guy. And what I don't want to see happen is Kyle have to go look for another guy. What I don't want to see happen is this team fire Kyle and then get another guy who can't find the guy.
And now we're starting over.
Yeah, and you keep continuously rebuilding and rebuilding and rebuilding and trying to figure these things out. Your window is now to try to make this thing work with Trey Lance, no matter how it looks, whether you need to run him, let him throw a little bit. It's just a tough situation for everybody involved, including the fans. And I think the fans are the ones who are dealing with it the most because we don't know things. This team doesn't give us a lot of information to work with what's really going on. And it's not this, they don't have to. So then that's why you get these conversations like, oh, what the fuck? And this is a speculation here, there's speculation there. But one thing I will say to the people who are watching is I no longer, me personally, and I think folks should also do this, don't disregard all the reports that come out because somewhere the truth lies somewhere in the middle with a lot of this stuff, right? We all shitted on Mike Silver about the arm fatigue thing. Guess what? That was true. It was true. Did he miss the practices? No, but the arm fatigue thing was real. The Tom Brady, the San Francisco 49ers, a lot of us denied it. Guess what? That was also true. Jimmy Garoppolo and Kyle Shanahan and the 49ers front office weren't really happy with each other in 2020. Guess what? That was also true, right? They traded up to 3. People were like, oh, it's going to be Kyle Pitts. It's going to be this. It's going to be that. Kyle would never want Mac. And Kyle admitted to Mac. That's the 4th things. Like, don't disregard all these reports that are out there.
Right.
Read them, make your own opinions, put the pieces together, and you will come to a far better conclusion of what's going on with this franchise.
Right, for sure. And 5K Collectibles Live, great show, guys. How do I know when you're live again? Just subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, and there's going to be content all week. Thank you guys for tapping in. Appreciate you guys. We had almost like 250 people in here. You guys trickled out a little bit, on and off, but I appreciate you guys. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel, like this video, hit the notification bell for when we go live. Sign up for Underdog Fantasies so we can do higher and lower wagers on props and things like that, and I'll be giving those out as well too, so you can double your first deposit up to $100. I just want to end on this real quick, Agent 49er. Well, it's clear that these guys are detrimental to our team, continuing to dispute this thing for players on our team. Agent 49er, I want to say to you this: nobody gives a fuck what we got to say. Who cares?
Not a soul.
Who
Not
cares?
a soul cares.
Who cares? You care. Thanks for being here. Thanks for adding to the algorithm. But we're nobody. Nobody cares. You think the 49ers are in their locker room? Man, you know what Jason Aponte and Javier Vega said about us? You sound stupid. On that note.
And God forbid anyone has a conversation at a bar.
On that note, I'll talk to y'all in a bit, man. Let's go Niners. Welcome, everybody. Let's go Niners. My name is Jason Aponte.